All right. Hey. I'm going to try to keep this like really brief. I just wanted to share something I was thinking about, and it's what I'm going to talk about. Not to hold anybody in suspense, but what I'm going to talk about is something that always gave me like a lot of pause. And it's actually taken literally years of being in therapy, and not just sitting through therapy, but actually like doing the work and trying to um, get out of therapy what I am going there to get. Really like doing the work for me to even be able to say, because I'm talking about like family shit. And um like the expression grass is always greener on the other side. That's true. And that's true for a lot of different reasons. I mean, for human nature, just to compare and this and that. But it's also true because, in my opinion, everybody has shit. And, I think about people that are just born into like immense, mind boggling, like really incomprehensible privilege. Like, the children of the Kardashians, for example, or, the Rockefellers, or whatever, just like mega billionaires. Even though the Kardashians aren't like the Rockefellers, but you know what I mean. Like, multi millionaires and billionaire families. Like, what would that be like? But, really, it would kind of suck in a way, because it's like, how in the fuck, if you were born into that level of privilege, how in the fuck could you appreciate anything, material or otherwise? I think it would be hard to find truth in life, because money can buy all this superficial shit. So I'm sure that's where all the value is placed. And I don't know, just like, my God, I think about like just being born in America, in the United States. And I'm in southern West Virginia. I was born and raised, in the southernmost county in the state, which is one of the poorest counties in America. It really is like third world America. But with that said, I mean, I know what I take for granted, running water, um, food stamps. I get EBT. I couldn't get them for a while because the drug felon laws like were what they were for years. But a fucking grocery store, electricity. Even when I was homeless, there was a mission, the Bluefield Union mission, that you could go there every day, and everybody in the town that was like really struggling, we would all line up every day, and every day at lunch, you could depend on them, to give you a meal. And was it like day old Hot Pockets, day old $5 Little Caesars pizzas, like on Christmas, like on a holiday? Yeah, I mean, it wasn't all that like canned food, but it was food. And I was homeless, but I still, I've never had food insecurity like people in other countries that, have. And I know that. And even though I'm aware of it, and I try to be appreciative just for, being born into this level of privilege. It's just like, how can I be, I can only appreciate but so much, because I'll never know what it's really like to have that level of insecurity, and to really go without like the creature comforts. And when I was homeless, I knew, like, to a degree, I didn't know how to fix it, but I knew it was of my own making. I knew it was like addiction, and that theoretically I could turn it around. So even though I try to like keep in perspective, we're all so spoiled. All Americans are, for the most part. And so anyway, like, you know money's a big one, but like, grass is always green on the other side. But there really are like pros and cons to everything. And I think like just immense wealth would make you just feel so empty in a lot of ways. Because like nothing would matter. No, you would want for nothing. So what would you want? You know what I mean? Like, it would be kind of hard to do, that level of soul work, I would say. I mean, it'd be nice to know what that problem's like, but then again, if you were born in that family, you wouldn't have anything to compare it to. So, the reason I'm bringing up like grass is greener is because the point of the video is family, and what I've really been working on in therapy. It took me a long time, like I said, a couple good years in therapy, really, to be able to say that it's okay for me to say that my emotional needs were not met with my family when I was younger. It's okay to say that, because that's how I feel and that's how I felt. And on the same token, it's okay, that was my experience, that I had, needs that were not met, and I was not listened to, and, I was criticized to a degree. It was like kind of like a Southern Catholic tiger mom type thing. And at the same time, I need to work on forgiveness, of my parents, and the resentment that I carried a lot of times towards my dad, and for like allowing, for just turning kind of a blind eye and everything. And I have to forgive myself for not taking the reins, and for all the messed up things that I did. But it's okay to say, just because you're from a good family, and I was from a great family, just because you're from a good family in a lot of ways, both on paper and behind closed doors, it doesn't mean that everything was picture perfect, And for a long time, I didn't even think that was okay to think, let alone say out loud, And like I said, it's taken me a long time to be like, okay, that was my experience. Those feelings were valid, And I think I said it before, like, I was embarrassed to talk about my family and my upbringing when I was like in jail or locked up, and even like in certain like social settings, like when I was in addiction, because almost everyone had a horror story of a troubled past, of a family of obvious trauma, neglect, abuse, all that stuff. And I was like, God, 2-parent household. My parents didn't fight. They were both retired school teachers. Just really picture perfect. Mom was a Girl Scout leader, and this and that. But it makes sense. My family was very pragmatic, and they didn't know how to handle me, because I was the only one that, had these issues and had these problems. Even well before I did drugs, I knew my mind, something was off, and I asked to go to therapy. I was like, I really think I need to talk to someone. I knew I was having these really dark, weird thoughts. I just had a lot of chaos, confusion. I couldn't control my emotions. I didn't know why I felt this like pain, and just like I said before, an extreme discomfort in reality, in my body, in my mind. I had social anxiety, and now, with borderline and bipolar, and that's something else that took me a really long time to accept the fact that, okay, I have these mental illnesses, but at the same time, I'm really working on not being defined by that. And I think there's a push to kind of define ourselves almost by our shortcomings. And that's like a really sneaky way, I think, to kind of keep us down, instead of helping us raise ourselves up, and and borderline too is almost a mental illness, and bipolar both are almost mental illnesses that I feel like have almost become like in vogue, which is weird to say, but when I was diagnosed with both borderline and bipolar, it was the first time I went to therapy, and I did not go to therapy till I was 21, after I'd already gone into full-blown addiction, had multiple pending felonies, and like a life of chaos. Mom was like, okay, I'll help you get into a therapist. And I was 21, you know. I wanted to go to therapy when I was 18 and 14, 15, 16, 17. And then when I graduated high school, why didn't I take the initiative and say, okay, I want to go to therapy. I'm going to put myself, if I'm going to find a therapist, why didn't I do that? And for years, I still was like, oh God, Mom wouldn't let me go to therapy. I told her I needed to talk to someone. But yet I didn't take the reins when I became an adult and moved out. So what was I talking about, you know? And I think it's easy to, on one hand, it's easy to look back on our past and be like, oh, well, you know, my family didn't do this or that, or I had this horrible, you know, a tragic past. But on the other hand, you know, everybody has trauma in their life. Everybody has trauma, and it's all relative, because everyone is, you know, we shouldn't be comparing our trauma and our worst days and our most traumatic experiences and our lowest lows to anyone else's, you know, like it's a pain competition or something. You know, we can't just be defined, and this is what I'm like really learning. I can't be defined by what happened, what I didn't get from my mom, what support I didn't get, understanding, you know, compassion, whatever. I can't be defined by that. And at the same time, like, I can't be defined by, you know, the mistakes that I made too. But it's okay to say out loud, hey, you know, I didn't get that. So it's like a fine line, you know, and I'm trying to like keep all this in mind and not be defined by like borderline. And this is pretty much the last thing I'm going to say, because bipolar, I do think that I have bipolar, but like for some reason I always, you know, because I never had manic depression, like I never had extreme lows or mania, I thought I wasn't bipolar. And like, I know that's not true. But borderline, I didn't know what it meant when I was first diagnosed. And then I quit going to see my therapist immediately after I was diagnosed. So I never understood it till I went back to college and took upper level psychology course. And we really studied borderline. And I was like, oh my God, you know, a controlling mother, like, you know, the reasons why they think and the symptoms. Like, I checked every box. And on one hand, that felt so amazing. Finally, there was something like a diagnosis that made sense. But that feeling like came and went really quickly, you know, and I was still searched for a long time for like a diagnosis that would help me be okay. But, you know, a diagnosis is just a fucking label. You know, even when I found that in borderline, it's like I was wanting more from it, you know. It's like, okay, this fits. This is the name for it. What am I going to do about it, you know? So it's like a fine line, but I just wanted to share that because, you know, it's strange when you had such a life of chaos like I did for so long, and had dealt with addiction for so long, but came from, you know, a good family from the outside, and like I said, from the inside. Like, we didn't have any dark monsters. It's strange, you know, because so many people don't have that experience in addiction. But then again, you know, everybody's just doing the best they can, and every parent is a person, you know. We're all flawed. We're all just like making mistakes and trying to do the best thing in any given situation. It's okay to say, hey, my needs weren't met, but now it's like I have to meet them myself, you know. So I don't know, I just wanted to share that. Y'all have a good night.